I remember a time early in my career when I wasn't booking roles, wasn't getting callbacks, and wasn't on anybody's radar. I was showing up every day with passion, drive, hope, and I was met with closed doors, cold rooms, and quiet. You ever walk into a space full of people and still feel completely invisible? That was me, that silence. It was deafening at first. But let me tell you something, over time, I learned that silence isn't your enemy. Silence is your teacher. When you stop hearing the noise of others, you start hearing the truth in yourself. People think solitude is weakness. They think if you're by yourself, it's because no one wants you. But let me tell you something real. Sometimes being alone is the greatest sign that you're being set apart for something bigger. You ain't being rejected, you're being redirected. There's something powerful about walking a road that no one else is willing to walk. You find out what you're really made of when no one is watching. You ever see a wolf walk alone in the snow? It don't whimper, it don't chase the pack, it moves with purpose. Every step is intentional. You can feel it in your bones, that quiet power. That's what walking alone teaches you. When I was younger, I used to crave the validation, the cheers, the claps, the recognition. But I found out real fast that applause fades. It's like smoke in the wind, it vanishes. But self-belief, that's something you build in the quiet, in the early mornings, in the late nights, when it's just you, your grind, and your God, when no one sees your tears, when no one claps for your efforts. That's where greatness begins. I learned that when you sit with silence long enough, it starts to speak. And what it tells you is that everything you need is already inside. That you don't need a crowd to move forward. You don't need a stage to rehearse your greatness. You just need the courage to keep showing up when no one else does. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not chase the crowd, but choose the climb. Walk the quiet road, carry your dream like it's already real, even when nobody else sees it. Because trust me, when you finally arrive, when the world starts to notice, when the noise finally comes, you'll know it didn't make you, you made yourself. In the silence, you ever been in a storm? I'm not talking about a little rain and some wind, I'm talking about the kind of storm that shakes your soul. Where everything feels like it's falling apart, where you look around and nothing feels steady. People you trusted fall away, opportunities dry up. You feel like you're moving in quicks, and like the harder you fight, the deeper you sink. I've been there more than once, and I'll tell you, when you're in that storm, it's easy to ask, why me? It's easy to feel forgotten, like God left you on read. But the truth is, storms aren't sent to break you. They're sent to build you. See, when you're out there alone in the rain, soaked to your skin, no umbrella, no shelter, just you and your breath, you discover something that no sunny day can ever teach you: resilience. Real resilience, that kind of fire that doesn't come from comfort, it comes from surviving what should have destroyed you. I remember working 3 jobs, running lines in the mirror of a bathroom at midnight, eating ramen, wondering if all the sacrifice was worth it. And the world, it didn't clap for that. There were no headlines, no praise, just sweat, silence, and faith. But I grew. Not on the red carpets. I grew in the trenches. Growth don't happen when everything's going smooth. You don't build muscle by relaxing. You build it by pushing against resistance. You grow when it hurts, when it's heavy, when you feel like giving up, but something inside says, one more step, one more rep, one more day. You've got to be willing to go through that lonely place where no one checks on you, where no one cheers for you, where every voice that ever told you you can't starts echoing in your head. That's when you dig deeper. That's when the roots go down, because if you want to stand tall, you've got to be anchored. And anchors aren't built in sunshine, they're forged in storms. A tree doesn't grow tall just because it's watered. It grows because its roots fight through the dirt, through the dark, to find strength. That's your storm, that's your dirt, that's your dark, and here's the thing. Every storm ends, eventually the sky's clear. And when they do, you'll look around and realize you didn't just survive. You became someone new, someone stronger, someone who doesn't flinch at lightning anymore, because you walked through it. So when the wind howls and the night comes, don't run from it. Stand in it, face it, because storms don't mean you're off track. Sometimes they mean you're right on time, 4-0, you said, there comes a moment in your life when you have to make a choice. Do you want to be liked? Or do you want to be real? Because let me tell you something, not everybody who claps for you is cheering. Not everybody who walks with you is riding for you. Some folks are just along for the ride, not the mission. And if you're going to fulfill your purpose, your true purpose, you gotta be willing to leave the comfort of the crowd and walk your own road. You can't lead if you're still trying to fit in. The two don't mix. I had to learn that. When I started rising up, people started talking. He changed. He thinks he's better. No, I didn't change. I evolved, and not everybody is meant to go where you're headed. You see, when a rocket takes off, pieces fall away. Not because they're bad, but because they were only built for a certain altitude. And if you try to hold on to what's meant to fall off, you'll never leave the ground. We're raised to chase popularity, to gather followers like trophies. But influence, real influence, doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being true. It comes from standing on something when everyone else is sitting. It comes from walking a lonely path when the crowd says, "You're crazy." That's how legends are born. You think Martin Luther King had a crowd behind him every step. You think Muhammad Ali didn't face rooms full of people waiting for him to shut up. You think Harriet Tubman wasn't alone in the dark, risking everything with no guarantee of success. They didn't follow trends, they set them. They didn't walk with the pack. They led it because they had the courage to leave it. I've seen people lose themselves trying to be accepted. They shrink their vision, water down their truth, smile when they want to scream, all for a seat at someone else's table. But when you know your purpose, you build your own table, and you eat there alone if you have to. There's power in separation, power in saying, I know who I am and I know where I'm going, even if I have to go alone. That's leadership, that's legacy, that's what separates the names we remember from the ones we forget. Because one day, you're gonna look back on your life, and you're not gonna care how many likes you had, or how many people followed you blindly. You're gonna care if you followed yourself, if you honored the call, if you stayed true when the crowd begged you to compromise, and if you do that, if you walk alone with purpose, you won't just lead the pack, you'll redefine what the pack even looks like. 4-0, you said, so now I ask you. Are you willing to walk when no one walks with you? Are you willing to believe when no one else does? Are you willing to become what the world has never seen? Because you refuse to wait for their permission. You see, walking alone ain't easy. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, but it's real, it's honest, and it's where greatness is born. You embrace the silence, and find your voice, you endure the storm. And find your strength, you leave the pack, and find your purpose. That's what lone wolves do, and maybe, just maybe, you're not alone by accident. Maybe you're being prepared, being tested, being forged for something bigger than approval, bigger than applause. Destiny doesn't need a crowd, so if you find yourself on that path, the one with no map, no fanfare, no guide, don't turn back, keep walking, chin up, shoulders strong, heart steady, because every step you take in the dark brings you closer to becoming the light. Walk alone like a lone wolf, and when the world finally sees what you've become, they'll realize you never needed them to believe in you, because you believed in you first. Thank you, 4-0.